It started with a smile. I remember the exact day he joined. Monday morning, 8:57 a.m., just before the weekly stand-up. I was sipping burnt coffee at my desk when the manager introduced him, Adrian. Slim build, neatly pressed shirt, too much cologne. He smiled in that overly wide way that makes your skin crawl, like someone trying too hard to mimic a human expression. Everyone clapped politely. I didn't. "I'll be shadowing you for the next few weeks," like he said to me afterward. His eyes didn't match his tone. Too focused, too unblinking. I forced a smile back, swallowing a groan. I worked in compliance at a mid-sized finance firm. Quiet cubicles, endless spreadsheets, and whispered gossip. Nothing dramatic. Nothing ever happened here. Until Adrian. That first week, he asked too many questions. Some about work, most about me. What time did I come in? Did I live far? Did I always bring my lunch or go out? At first, I chalked it up to newbie nerves. But by Thursday, it didn't feel like curiosity anymore. It felt like tracking. I noticed him watching me in meetings, not in the casual, spaced-out way people zone out during PowerPoints. No, he studied me. When I laughed at something, he would too, half a beat too late. When I shifted in my chair, he'd shift the same way, mirroring me. On Friday, he handed me a coffee. "I noticed you like hazelnut creamer," he said. I hadn't told him that, and I'd never accepted coffee from him again. Over the weekend, I tried to push it out of my mind. Maybe he was just awkward. Maybe I was overthinking. But a part of me knew better. Intuition, maybe, or just experience. I'd met men like Adrian before. They don't start creepy. They inch toward it, one friendly gesture at a time. Monday rolled in, and so did the dread. That morning, there was a note on my desk. "You wore the blue dress again. Beautiful." I hadn't worn the blue dress since the last apartment party 2 months ago. I stared at the note in my hand for too long. The office buzzed around me, oblivious. Phones rang. People laughed faintly behind cubicle walls, but the world had gone muted in my head. That one sentence repeated like static in my ears. "You wore the blue dress again. Beautiful." I hadn't worn it recently. Not to work, not anywhere. But I had posted a photo in it on my private Instagram. A photo from months ago, taken at a friend's engagement dinner. My account was locked. Only friends could see it. And Adrian was not one of them. I checked, double-checked. No mutuals, no trace, which meant he either found a way in or someone had shown it to him. Or he had followed me there. That day, I barely got any work done. My body was present, but my mind was split between screens and paranoia. At lunch, I asked around casually about Adrian. Most coworkers had the same opinion. Polite, a little quiet, odd sense of humor. Nothing threatening. No one else seemed to notice the way he hovered behind my cubicle just long enough to pretend he wasn't listening, or how he always found reasons to stay late when I did. That afternoon, he dropped another comment. "Did you end up cooking the salmon last night, or did you go with takeout again?" I froze. I had made salmon. I hadn't posted anything about it. No photos. Nothing online. Only memory. He watched me too closely as I tried to fake a laugh. "Just a guess," he added quickly, smiling again like that erased the violation. His voice was always soft, smooth, too soft to raise a scene, just enough to make you feel ridiculous if you reacted strongly. The next day, my desk drawer was open. I never leave it open. Nothing was missing, but my lip balm had been twisted halfway out of the tube. He never touched me, never crossed the big lines. That's what made it worse. Everything was just below the threshold, just ambiguous enough to doubt myself, to think maybe I'm the one who's spiraling. But that Thursday night, the line moved. I left work late, past 7, and the office was nearly empty. I took the elevator down alone. Or so I thought. Halfway between the 6th and 5th floor, the elevator stopped. And then it started moving again. Up. The doors opened. Adrian stood there, holding a gym bag, surprised. "Oh, you're still here?" He didn't get in. He just stood in the doorway, holding the elevator open for 10 seconds too long. 10 seconds too long for my blood to turn cold. I didn't sleep that night. I kept going over that elevator moment in my head. The timing, the expression on his face, the way he stood there, not entering, just holding the doors open and watching me as if waiting for something. Like he wanted to see what I would do. I stopped taking the elevator after that, started leaving work with groups. I told myself it was fine. I hadn't seen him do anything. But I began locking my apartment door with more urgency, checking the windows, carrying my keys between my fingers walking to my car. Then, 2 days later, my coffee mug was missing from my desk. It was a dumb ceramic mug, green, chipped handle. The one my sister Lena gave me in college. I kept pens in it. I never moved it. No one would borrow something like that. I checked with cleaning staff. No one had cleaned my area the night before. It was just gone. I found it 3 days later, behind the printer in the storage room. Empty, washed. That same day, Adrian switched desks. There was no formal reason. He just told our manager that he preferred the lighting in the corner, closer to mine. Nobody thought anything of it. Why would they? It's an open office. People move around all the time. But now he sat 5 feet behind me. I could feel his eyes through the back of my head. He began copying my lunch times, asking questions like, "You okay? You've been quiet today." Or worse, "You've started wearing lipstick again? Is it for someone?" I stopped wearing makeup. I stopped posting anything online. I changed my route to work. I started recording every interaction in a private note app. I couldn't go to HR. Not yet. Not without proof. All of it sounded paranoid when you said it out loud. A note, a mug, an elevator, a comment. Each one alone wasn't enough. But then one night I got home late, unlocked my apartment door. The lights were off, just like I left them. My cat, Daisy, greeted me like normal. But as I set my keys down on the table, I noticed it. The window above the kitchen sink was cracked open, only slightly. I never leave that window open. Ever. I stood still for a full minute, listening, heart in my throat. I checked the closets, the bathroom, under the bed. Nothing. Everything seemed fine. Until I looked at the fridge. A Post-it note. Bright yellow. No writing. Just stuck there. I peeled it off with shaking fingers. Later, I realized it matched the same kind of note Adrian used at his desk. I sat on the bus the next morning, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers were white. I'd taken pictures of the sticky note. The open window. I even recorded a voice memo describing what I saw the moment I walked into the apartment, in case I started questioning my memory later. But still, it didn't feel like enough. When I got to the office, Adrian was already there. Typing, smiling, sipping his oversweet coffee. He nodded at me like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just found a silent yellow message from him inside my home. I avoided his gaze and went straight to the HR department. The woman who met me, Elaine, had a tight, concerned expression. She listened as I laid it all out. The desk drawer, the note about the blue dress, the stalking-like questions, the mug, the open window. But when I mentioned Adrian's name, something in her expression changed, just slightly. Guarded. "We take these kinds of concerns very seriously," she said, carefully. "But are there any witnesses to the behavior? Anything more concrete, like emails or messages?" "No," I admitted, clenching my jaw. "But I know it's him. This isn't just a feeling, it's a pattern." "I understand. But unless there's direct evidence or someone else reports a similar experience, a wall. A soft, polite, corporate wall." I left her office shaking with quiet rage, and when I returned to my desk, Adrian looked up and smiled. "Rough morning?" That night, I installed a camera near my front door. I'd already checked every window twice and started leaving a shoe against the frame to catch movement. I was sleeping with a hammer by the bed now. The worst part was pretending everything was normal. At lunch with coworkers, on Teams calls. Even with my sister Lena, who I hadn't told yet because I didn't want to scare her, or myself. But I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating right. Every day I came into work wondering if Adrian had followed me home again. Or worse. Then on a Tuesday evening, it happened. I left the office at 6:23 p.m. sharp. I know because I texted myself the time, part of my new routine. I walked to my car in the underground lot. It was dim, mostly empty. But when I got to my car, there was something tucked under my wiper. A small, folded paper. I unfolded it with trembling fingers. You lock your door well, but not well enough. I drove home that night with every muscle in my body rigid, eyes darting to the rearview mirror, half expecting his car to tail me. I didn't go straight home. I made random turns, passed through busy intersections, even circled a gas station 3 times before pulling in and pretending to fuel up. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. He was watching me. The note under my windshield confirmed it. He'd been close enough to touch my car. He knew I was locking the door. He was testing me, taunting me. That night I didn't go home. I drove to Lena's apartment and rang her doorbell with tears still drying on my face. She opened the door and knew instantly something was wrong. "You're staying here," she said, before I even spoke. I told her everything. From the creepy notes to the missing mug to the cracked window. She listened without interrupting, her face hardening with every detail. "He's escalating," she said. "You can't just wait for more proof. We're going to the police." And we did. The officer took my report seriously. He asked good questions, listened carefully. But when it came time to file a restraining order, we hit the same roadblock. "Unless you have direct proof that he entered your home or harmed you," the officer said, "there's not much we can do legally. He's being careful." "But he's in my space," I said, voice cracking. "I know it's him." "I believe you," the officer replied, "but the system needs more than belief." I left the station with a case number and a sick, twisted knot of helplessness in my chest. That night, Lena helped me move some of my things to her place. I wasn't going back to the apartment for a while. The locks didn't feel strong enough anymore. But the next morning, Adrian changed tactics. He didn't look at me when I walked in. Didn't smile. Didn't say hello. He sat at his desk typing furiously, a furrow in his brow. It was off. Deliberate, like a performance. But I ignored it. I buried myself in work, until I noticed an email in my inbox, subject line, "You're really making a mistake." No sender. Just that message. No body. Just an attached file. I didn't open it. I called IT instead and had them trace the source. They couldn't find it in the logs. It hadn't come through the company server. Somehow, it was in my inbox, but without a trail. That afternoon, Adrian left early. 2 hours later, Lena called me, whispering, "Someone's outside my apartment." My stomach dropped. She peeked through the peephole, but the figure was facing away, hoodie up, just standing there. Then he turned and walked off. Slowly, deliberately. That was it. That was my breaking point. I didn't go to work the next day. Neither did Adrian. I paced Lena's apartment like a caged animal, my mind clawing through possibilities. The note, the untraceable email, the shadow outside Lena's door. He was warning me, maybe punishing me for going to the police, for telling anyone. He was always one step ahead. Calculated, careful. But I had reached a place past fear. Something colder. Something more focused. He wanted me to feel powerless. I was done feeling powerless. That night, Lena and I sat down with her friend Miriam, an IT analyst who freelanced with security firms. We gave her everything. My old phone backups, screenshots, time logs, even the yellow sticky note. She believed us, and more than that, she knew how to dig. Within a few hours, Miriam cracked something. "Check this out," she said, spinning her laptop around. There was a shadow social media account, no name, no profile picture, but it had been following my private Instagram through a dummy account that looked like a woman. A fake follower request I had once accepted by accident months ago. The account had screenshots from my stories saved to its private gallery. Some of my photos were zoomed in. Some were cropped and commented on. "She's up late again." Same kitchen towel, Tuesday. She didn't lock her window this time. I felt bile rise in my throat. He had been watching me longer than I realized. Miriam helped us compile everything into a full file. Timestamped screenshots, metadata, correlation logs between Adrian's login times at work and the images posted. It wasn't concrete proof of a crime, but it was enough to scare HR, enough to get the police more involved. The next step? Confrontation. Miriam suggested we use a decoy to bait him. A harmless, public-looking Instagram story showing me returning to my apartment alone at a specific time. All fake. I wouldn't really be there. Lena and I prepped everything. A new post showing me coming home from a run. We even faked the timestamp with a pre-recorded clip. Then we waited. Lena and Miriam parked across the street in a borrowed car, their eyes on my apartment door. At exactly 8:42 p.m., a figure appeared. Adrian, hood up, gloves on, same black gym bag slung over his shoulder. He didn't knock. He didn't loiter. He pulled out a key and tried to open the door. The sound of the key scraping the lock was faint, barely picked up on Lena's phone recording, but it was real. We watched from inside Miriam's car across the street as Adrian, unaware he was being filmed, crouched slightly and tried the key again, forcing it to turn. It didn't work. We had changed the locks days before, but that didn't stop him. His movements were slow, steady, too practiced. "Call them," I whispered, barely breathing. Lena was already dialing. Adrian gave up after 30 seconds. He didn't panic. He didn't flee. He He simply reached into his bag and pulled out something, what looked like a small metal pick, and began trying again. In that moment, I saw who he really was. No mask, no awkward smile, no charm, just methodical malice. We stayed in the car, filming, until the red and blue lights turned the corner. Adrian didn't even see them at first. But when the sirens flipped on, sharp and sudden, he turned around and froze. The police car screeched to a halt. 2 officers jumped out, guns drawn. Hands where we can see them. Adrian dropped the bag, raised his arms. I watched, heart hammering, as they cuffed him against the side of the building. He didn't struggle, didn't shout. He just smiled. Even as they pulled the fake key from his pocket. Even as they opened his bag and pulled out gloves, duct tape, a box cutter. Even then, he smiled. I wanted to scream, to run, to hit him. But I didn't. I just kept filming, hands clenched around my phone like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. Later, back at the station, the officers told us what they found. He'd been keeping journals, dozens of them, coded entries, obsessive drawings of me, my apartment layout sketched by hand. They found more in his locker at work, even a USB drive with screenshots from my social media, saved emails, photos of me in the parking garage, all time-stamped. He had been planning this for over a year, long before he ever joined our company. He chose the job because of me. He followed me online, learned my schedule, got hired, got close. He studied me, and no one, not HR, not the police, would have ever seen it without that final trap, without Lena and Miriam, without proof. The official charges: attempted burglary, stalking, unlawful surveillance, possession of burglary tools. There may be more. I didn't go home that night. I didn't cry either. I just sat on Lena's couch and listened to the silence. For the first time in weeks, it didn't feel like someone was listening back. It took weeks to feel safe again. Even with Adrian in custody, his presence still lingered like smoke in a room after a fire. I kept catching myself checking corners, locking doors twice, sleeping with the hallway light on. Habits I hadn't realized I'd picked up now refused to leave. But slowly, something shifted. I moved out of my old apartment and found a new place, one with a security system and windows that didn't face the street. Lena helped me decorate. She even surprised me by hanging that ugly green mug on a hook in the kitchen. So he didn't get everything, she said with a wink. Work changed too. HR couldn't ignore what happened once the police got involved. Elaine reached out, careful, remorseful. They fired Adrian officially, scrubbed the servers of anything he'd accessed, and implemented new employee screening policies. Too little, too late, but at least a start. People at the office whispered about it, of course. Some avoided me. Others apologized for not believing me sooner. I didn't bother correcting them. What mattered was that he was gone, and he wasn't coming back. In the courtroom, I sat through every hearing. He never looked at me. Not once. His lawyer tried to argue he was mentally unwell, but the evidence was overwhelming. The journal entries, the photos, the key, his obsession, his plan. The sentencing came on a rainy Thursday. I remember the quiet slap of water on the courthouse windows as the judge read the charges. Years. Actual years, not a slap on the wrist. The weight of it made my chest rise in something that felt like breath for the first time in months. Afterward, Lena took my hand as we walked outside. "You're free now," she said. And I was. Free to walk home without scanning shadows. Free to sleep through the night without waking to imagined footsteps. Free to laugh at the coffee shop, to open the curtains, to post pictures without fear. In the months that followed, I went back to therapy. I started volunteering with a group that supports women dealing with stalking and harassment. I used my story, quietly, anonymously at first, to help others speak out sooner than I did. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear a creak in the floor or the scrape of wind against glass and my heart jumps. But then I remember. The locks are new. The door is shut. I'm safe. I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore, because he's the one locked behind bars, and I'm the one who walked out, bruised but whole, alive, free, and the beginning of peace.